In the heart of the American South, a young boy named Michael experienced the harsh realities of segregation and racial prejudice. His father, a prominent minister, instilled in him a sense of justice and power of the spoken word. The boy, who would later change his name to honor one of his heroes, found solace in the church, where his voice began to resonate with the dreams and hopes of the oppressed community. As he matured, his path led him to higher education, where he encountered the teachers of Mahatma Gandhi. Oh, we just talked about Gandhi. And the philosophy of nonviolence. These ideas, combined with the theological studies, forged a vision of a just society, achieved through peaceful means. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, he wrote, capturing the essence of his mission. His journey took a pivotal turn in Montgomery, Alabama, where he led the bus boycott that would catapult him to the national spotlight. The boycott, a response to the arrest of Rosa Parks, showcased his leadership in the power of collective action. However, the success came at great personal cost. He faced constant threats, his home was bombed, and his family lived under the shadow of violence. Yet he remained undeterred, driven by a vision of equality and justice. His speeches, infused with profound empathy and moral clarity, inspired a generation, painting a picture of a future where all people would be judged by the content of their character. These words, delivered at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, reverberated across the nation, galvanizing the civil rights movement. Amidst the triumphs were moments of deep despair. The constant barrage of hatred and violence took a toll on his mental health. He struggled with depression, often questioning whether his efforts were making a difference. "I've seen the promised land," he said in a speech eerily prophetic of it. Say the word, Jess.
Prophetically.
Okay.
Or prophetic.
Prophetic. He said in a speech eerily prophetic of his own mortality, acknowledging the personal sacrifice he had made. His wife was his steadfast companion, sharing his vision and supporting him through the darkest of times. Together, they faced the monumental challenges of leading a movement that sought to dismantle centuries of institutional racism. Her strength and resilience provided the foundation that allowed him to continue his fight. The movement gained momentum. His leadership was instrumental in achieving significant legislative victories, including the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. However, his journey was cut short by an assassin's bullet, leaving the nation to grapple with the loss of this visionary leader. The man who inspired a nation with his dream of equality and justice was none other than Martin Luther King Jr. His journey from a young boy in the segregated South to the leader of the civil rights movement is a testament to the power and resilience and unwavering commitment to justice. Despite facing immense personal and societal challenges, he remains steadfast in his vision of a better world. The King's story, we find a profound lesson. Even in the face of overwhelming adversity, we can find the strength to persevere and inspire others. By embracing nonviolence, seeking support from those we trust, and holding steadfast to our ideals, we can navigate the darkest of times and emerge even stronger. Let King's legacy remind us that our struggles do not define us, but rather the courage and determination with which we face them. As you reflect on his life, take control of your own mental health journey, embracing the support systems around you, exploring your passion, and never underestimate the power of resilience. Let King's legacy inspire you to transform your challenges into a source of strength and hope. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm Sergeant Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Thank you for being here.
That was a rough read. I am getting a little rummy. I am still a little tired.
Rummy. Yeah, it was a great story, though. Casey will do a good job at
Yeah, he'll edit it together, make me sound super awesome. Yeah. He always does.
Yeah, I always love reminiscing on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his story and his tenacity and his resilience. Again, circling back to that mental resilience, facing challenges with courage, doing hard things.
Yeah, his vision was ironclad. And that was one thing that really set him apart from a lot of civil rights leaders of the time, was that he never wavered in that vision that he had. And a lot of people looked at that and said, well, that's not even possible. But for him, it was. And so he was undeterred in accomplishing that vision. And that's what really sets him apart from a lot of leaders in history, but specifically of that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a powerful woman he had to have behind him. There is a saying, behind every great man is a greater woman. And in my experience in life thus far, it's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in my own life, my wife is a huge anchor for me when I'm struggling myself. She's always there to remind me of who I am and what I'm doing and encourage me and help me along the path. So yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah. And working with veterans, the veterans that succeed the most at their post-traumatic growth is the ones who have a supportive and strong wife beside them, helping to encourage and embrace their growth.
Yeah, you know what? And I've seen the exact opposite happen too, where the spouse is negative and blaming and really just kind of checked out of the marriage and just lives her own life and just dumps everything onto the veteran as, well, you just need to figure this out.
Yeah.
That is very detrimental. So I've seen it go the other way really badly.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to turn this into a marriage podcast, but we can do that some other time.
No, it's a great point. And that's what this story is supposed to do. It's supposed to evoke different memories and emotions for different people. Mm-hmm. And so everybody who listens to it is going to get something else out of it. That is what's really cool. For me, it was the vision that led him, that defined his leadership. Mm-hmm, That's what I saw at this story. And what you saw was the strength of the female character being that helpmate, that component that lifts him up and drives him forward. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
But each of us see something a little different.
Yeah. Well, and it's because I'm always looking at things that's like, how can I challenge myself to be better? And I can't imagine being his wife in that time. And when I'm pulling that hippocampus memory up of like, it could always be worse. When I'm struggling as being a helpmate and encouragement to my husband, I can pull that up and be like, well, at least I'm not Mrs. King.
Right. Yeah, it'd be much more difficult.
It could be so much worse.
Yeah, so that's what's really cool about these stories is it touches different people in different ways because they're just in different seasons of their life.
Well, and just the beauty of the outcome of that vision, right? And the civil rights movement. And one of the most beautiful sermons I've ever heard in regards to justice, social justice, and the injustice of what Black Americans have experienced in the United States. Pastor Matt preached about it a couple months ago, and hopefully Casey can add it as a hyperlink because that would be great. A beautiful, amazing sermon. So
yeah, it really is. And when you look at the history of America, there are some dark times, but coming out of that, we're one of the, if not the most progressive nations in the world when it comes to societal change and overcoming racism and all of these different things that classify people. Now, when you look at just America, it looks pretty rough. But when you compare us to the rest of the world, and I travel all over the world. So if you've only been in America and you only see it from this part, and we talked about the beach ball mentality, right? If you only see it from this side, it looks pretty rough. But when you get outside of America's borders and you see how other countries operate.
Yes, exactly.
It is far worse. That's why millions of people are fighting and dying just to get here because they know they have a chance.
Yeah.
And in other countries, there is racism, there is tribalism, there is sexism. There's all these other things that are structures that are put in place that stop people from progressing in life that are just there. And there is no way to overcome them. There's no justice there. There's just no system set up to help people. And if you speak out, usually you're just killed.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the rest of the world. So as bad as people think it is here, and it's not perfect, absolutely not. And there's some dark times, but compare it to everybody else. America is definitely the place that you want to be. And that doesn't mean that we need to be like, oh, okay, well, we're good. We need to stop. No, we need to continue to progress. But you also got to reflect and appreciate like where you are now.
Exactly.
Is the best place in the world for you to be able to have those conversations. So maybe just think about that for a minute instead of getting, you learn to emotionally regulate and not get so worked up over some of these little things.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Let's switch up the game and do our cards.
All right, let's do our cards. Let's see.
You nailed it last week.
I did nail it last week. Well, that was kind of easy though, I think. The mosquitoes.
Yeah. All right, so how many cuts do you need to make 8 slices of cake?
What? 8 slices of cake. Can I draw it?
Go ahead.
All right.
10 minutes later. I wish everybody could see this part. The same thing.
1. I can do 1. You can do it in 4, but I can do it in 1 cut.
Only 3. 2 vertical and 1 horizontal.
2.
Though there may still be a fight over the 4 slices with the prettiest icing on top.
Oh, I see. They did it that way. Yeah.
That's 6.
They said 2 vertical and 1 horizontal. So if the cake is like that, 2 vertical, 1 horizontal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is only 6.
This is wrong.
That is wrong. It literally is wrong.
It's literally wrong. Somebody else prove us how this is right.
Yeah, I just drew it out, and that's 2 vertical and 1 horizontal is not correct.
What about in a circle one?
Well, that technically is a circle one, right? But a circle looks like a square when it's on the side.
You don't cut a cake from the side.
2 vertical and 1 horizontal.
Still 6.
I know. That's my point. Still 6.
I don't care what shape it is. Yeah,
it's always going to be 6. I could literally do
Interesting.
It in 1
okay, let's email them.
Yeah, they got it wrong. I think I should get double points if I prove them wrong.
Yeah, maybe we can get sponsored.
Sponsored because I proved them wrong. I don't think they'll.
We'll cut it from our really popular podcast if you sponsor us.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, cool. That was fun. Well, since we're talking about doing hard things, facing challenges with courage, let's talk about our ACC.
The anterior cingulate cortex.
Yes.
Or ACC, as it's commonly called. This is a small part of your brain. Well, it starts out very small. But when you do hard things, when you do things that are challenging, that area of the brain actually grows. And we were talking in our pre-show about when they do autopsies of a brain of somebody who has been in the military or somebody who's played professional sports, who've had to endure hardship and do hard things and made that a lifestyle. That area of the brain is really big. And people who haven't had to have those experiences, it's really small. Mm-hmm. And so think about like our society now compared to 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you had to be pretty tough to survive. You were no electricity. You were dealing with cutting firewood, hunting and gathering your own food and growing your own vegetables, all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You had to do all of these hard things to be able to just survive. And we've created a society of comfort now where we don't have to do those hard things to just survive.
Yeah.
We can just turn on a light switch and there's light. We can crank a dial and we get heat. We can turn on water and get fresh water. We don't have to go to the well, dig a well, get a hand pump, pump the bucket, bring it in the house, pour it in a pan, boil it up so we can do a sponge bath.
Yeah. Kill our meat for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that stuff is very easy for us now. So that means we need to, because back then you didn't have to seek out hard things. You just had to do them to survive.
Yes.
Now we have to actually seek out hard things to do so that area of our brain will grow. And people say, oh, this generation is so soft, which it is, but it's not their fault. It's because we've created so many comforts for them that they don't have to do hard things to survive. So we as a society need to learn this and need to put challenging things in front of our youth so they can grow that anterior singular cortex and be able to do hard things.
Yeah. With progress comes responsibility. So you can't just progress.
Good. Say that again.
With progress comes responsibility.
Yes,
so we can't just progress in life with these technologies and things like that without being responsible and catching up and making sure that we're preparing the youth and the next generations to still be functioning members of society. I can't tell you how many clients are in their 40s or 50s complaining about, even 60s, complaining about these weaker generations when I'm training and teaching and preparing my lesser generation, my children, how to do hard things all the time. And so, yes, like my kids will cry when they see a cat on the side of the road, when 100 years ago,
you'd be scooping it up. That'd be going in the possum pot and you'd be eating stew.
Yeah. There's certain things we can avoid in the society and the culture and the surroundings that we live in, but we need to be better at being intentional about teaching the generations to come to do hard things.
And nobody really taught us that either. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it was still more difficult than it is now. It's still not as difficult as it used to be, but we had to do hard things when we were kids. We didn't have the internet. We actually had to do research with books, go to the library. Yeah. So it was a little bit harder to get education. We didn't have video games, really. They were just coming out. And so we didn't spend our whole life in front of a video game. We didn't have to be out building forts and riding bikes and causing mischief.
Building those parts of the brain.
Yes, doing hard things.
Important, yeah.
And so we as a society have made things more comfortable for people without teaching them that they need to still seek out hard things, because you can do it every day. You can find hard things to do every day. So a friend of mine, this is great. This is a great story. I just thought about this. A friend of mine, we were in Anglico together, and he lives in Arizona. Great buddy of mine. I was talking to him the other day, and his friend was like, hey man, come check this thing out. Come and, on this weekend, a bunch of guys are going to get together and we're going to, do like this physical fitness, hard workout. And then we're going to talk about these things. We're going to challenge ourselves. My buddy's like, I don't want to do that on a Saturday. Like, why do I want to do that? This guy's a combat vet. Okay. He's a Marine. And then he switched over to the Army, multiple tours. He's like, I don't want to do all that. That weekend, he's out there drinking his coffee and he hears all these guys outside. He's like, what the heck is going on? They are out there and they're like hundreds of guys are doing lunges in his neighborhood and doing push-ups, and guys are yelling at them. They're doing this whole thing. He's like, oh my gosh, why would people do that? Who would do that? He doesn't find value in that because he's done hard things. Mm. And to him, that's not hard.
Uh-huh. That's a really good example.
But all of these guys that were doing it have never done hard things. There weren't veterans out there. There weren't people. These are guys that are doing IT. These are guys that are working at the supermarket. Mm-hmm. They haven't had to do hard, challenging things. So when a group of guys say, hey, pay us like $1,500, I think is what it would cost for the weekend. Come out and give us $1,500 and we're going to run you around the neighborhood and yell at you all day and they'll do hard things. They're like, yeah, let's do it. Because they want to be challenged.
Yep.
They gave them the opportunity. And so my buddy was kind of poo-pooing on that. And I was like, no, dude, that guy's brilliant because these guys haven't been challenged. They're dying for that. Yeah. They want that and that camaraderie and they want to feel that. And I talked to him about the brain and how it operates, the anterior singular cortex. He was like, oh, that makes sense. But for him, he doesn't need that. He's already done way harder stuff than that. But for the average person, they have not. And so this guy has a brilliant business model where he just gets a group of guys together to do hard things. They pay him a bunch of money. He just yells at them all weekend. I thought, man, I'm a sucker. I'm over here trying to teach about the brain. I could just be yelling at people all day. What the heck?
Well, that's why it's so interesting to me in my own little personal, back of my mind research as I watch people try the cold plunge.
Oh, yes.
And 99% of the time it's veterans and professional athletes that can do it, that have the mental resiliency to push through to at least get to a place where they start to see the benefits. Mm-hmm. And it's the people that, it's not their fault if they didn't
Nobody's been teaching us this stuff. Like we're trying to teach you guys right now. So those of you who've been listening to us for the last year and doing these exercises, if you do these things, you are going to be head and shoulders above all of your peers. I'm just telling you. Take what we're doing. This is so valuable. We could be charging you thousands of dollars for a weekend to teach you how to do this, and you're getting it for free. Do these things, and you are going to be better, faster, and stronger than all of your peers. We teach you every week. We give you free stuff. Use it. If you don't use it, you're a loser, literally, because you're losing out on the opportunity to grow your anterior cingulate cortex and be wildly successful. Yeah,
let's go.
I'm telling you, I'm going to start yelling at you guys to do the thing. Do the thing and get the motivation. You don't be like, oh, I got to get motivated to do this. No. Do the thing. Get the motivation to do the next hard thing. Yeah. Let's go. Stop. Get off your butt and go do something hard and do it this week. I do hard stuff all the time.
Every day.
Constantly. That's why we're able to do what we do here.
Yep.
We didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I think I'll do this. No, we had multiple hard experiences that we overcame, and now we're here. And here's the great thing. Here's the cool thing about the anterior cingulate cortex. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. If you try a hard thing, it doesn't matter if you accomplish it or not. That part of the brain doesn't care.
It still grows.
It still grows.
Yes.
Whether you win or lose, it still grows.
Yeah. So it's different than, you still get dopamine when you do it, but it's different from setting small micro goals and winning those small micro goals and getting those hits of dopamine to encourage you.
Serotonin too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. We should do a uncensored version of the mental health janitors where you can swear all day. No, I don't swear all day. Stop laughing at him, Casey. You're encouraging his behavior. No, okay. So the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, is a part of the brain that helps regulate emotions.
Yes, yeah, it does.
And decision making. It grows and strengthens when we face and overcome challenges, helping us manage stress and improve our emotional resilience. And the reason I want to say that is because here I go. I can't tell you how many people sit in their own torment and are miserable and infect other people around them. And I have all the answers to their problems. It just takes taking one step at a time, doing hard things, and they refuse to do it, and they're infecting everybody around them. Stop. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for you. You can't just come to me and be like, hey, I want to get everything that you've gotten in life, but I don't want to do anything to get it.
Oh man, I hear that all the time.
I can't do it.
People say, I want what you have. Well, then you got to do what I've done, bro. You just don't get it given to you. You've got to work for this stuff. Yeah. It takes time. It takes no talent. I have no talent. But what I have, zero.
Me. Sorry.
I have zero talent. But what I have is the ability to endure hardship. And I've been telling people that for years. And now I understand why. I can quantify that phrase.
Yes.
Yeah, you hear me say that all the time.
Yes.
It's because I can endure hardship. And now I can quantify it. With this, I found the anterior cingulate cortex. And I'm like, oh, what I've been saying, it's true. I can quantify it.
Yes. And not to mention, here, let's go next. Read.
Oh my gosh.
I can't stand the person. I don't like to read. I hate reading. But I've learned, of course you do. Nerd. I've learned.
I do a lot of it.
Yes, I read a lot and I hate it, but I make myself do it because I learn and I grow and I learn and I grow. And so I make my kids read. I pay them to read good. I mean, my one child just read 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And she doesn't want to read it, but after she reads it and writes her little summary for me for her money or whatever, she is like, man, mom, this is what she's building and growing and she's learning the benefits and the outcome of reading, even though she doesn't want to initially start to read.
I was speaking to a mom, and I'm just going to say her name. I think it'll be okay. Amanda Wilder.
Oh yeah. She'll love it. Yeah.
And she pays her son to read these leadership books.
Yeah, I do too.
It was a John Maxwell book. It was the 5 levels of leadership. That's what it was. 5 levels of leadership. Now, this is like an executive level book. I coach on this book only to CEOs. I just put my entire leadership team through this book, but I had to really just focus on one area of it because it is a very advanced book. She paid him $50 to read this book.
He's 11.
Is he? I thought 11 or 12, right?
12, maybe.
Yeah. She paid him to read this book and then write little essays about it. I was like, this kid is going to be wildly successful.
Incredible. And that concept comes from John Maxwell.
Yes.
I learned it from John Maxwell 12, 13 years ago at a conference I went to where he spoke. And I was like, that's amazing. I'm paying my kids to read leadership books and books on habit forming and stuff like that.
All right. So I have one really cool story that I found over the weekend, because even though I'm at this mental health conference, part of my downtime is I like to listen to other people tell stories and read stories about historical figures. This is a really cool story about this guy named Samuel Whitman. So Samuel Whitman at the time is 78 years old. Okay, 78 years old. He's living as a pioneer, okay, way back in the day when the country's first developing. He is a veteran of the French and Indian Wars. So this dude's already been to combat. He's already fought. And this is brutal hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
He's sitting on his porch and he hears that the British are marching down the road to go attack his friends at Concord. And so he goes back inside, 78 years old. He goes back inside and armors up 2 pistols and a rifle and his sword. He comes out on his porch and he waits for the British to march by, and he single-handedly attacks a column of British soldiers. He kills 3 of them, 2 with his pistols, 1 with his rifle. Then he draws his sword because it doesn't need to be reloaded and starts hacking and slashing at these British soldiers, taking a couple more out. The dude is 78 years old and he's murking dudes on his front lawn. They overwhelm him. They shoot him in the face. They bayonet him 6 times and they leave him for dead. Some of the patriots from Lexington and Concord, they find him several hours later. Do you know what he was doing? He was reloading his guns.
Shut up.
The dude got shot in the face, stabbed with a bayonet 6 times, and they found him reloading.
He's my hero.
This guy went on to live for 18 more years.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine how big this dude's anterior cingulate cortex is?
Yeah, that's incredible.
That dude is amazing.
Where did you hear about him?
It's crazy. I think I saw it on short on YouTube.
Oh.
It's incredible.
That's crazy cool.
Absolutely incredible. That is what we're talking about. That guy had a lifetime of hardship, which helped him to do the next hard thing. Going against an entire column of British soldiers single-handedly, that's pretty tough.
Well, and one thing also to note is that that anterior cingulate cortex has also been proven to be the main source of your brain that gives you the will to live.
Yes, absolutely.
So that kind of contradicts the 22 veterans a day that commit suicide or choose to end their life.
No, it doesn't. Because here's the thing. When people commit suicide, I truly believe that it's not a willful act. Yeah. That is simply a brain malfunction. We all have intrusive thoughts, but we can process through them. But during a mental health crisis, that part of the brain is malfunctioning.
Yeah.
So they have the intrusive thought and they act on it, not because they actually want to die, but because they can't process through that moment because the brain function is not operating properly.
Yeah, I do believe that in most cases, yes.
Yeah. Not in all. There's always an exception to the rule.
And most veteran cases it is. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can agree with that. But it's incredible. So let's talk about our scripture. Or is there something else you want to add? Yeah, no, our scripture. Again, I go back to James, 1, 2 through 3, which is count it all joy, brothers, when you fall into various trials. Because the testing of your faith produces persistence. Yeah. And mine is Romans 5, 3 through 4. It's we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. So that is the anterior cingulate cortex right there. Period. The whole thing. Yep. Right there. Right there. Okay, so the tool we're going to talk about today is going to help us with the anterior cingulate cortex. And that is, drum roll, give me a drum roll. The cold plunge.
Yes. Yes. I love the cold plunge.
All right, you guys, let's talk about some things that it does for us. It says reduces symptoms of Let's talk about some things it does for us. It reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety. Cold water immersion can trigger the release of endorphins, the body's natural feel-good hormones. This can lead to improved mood and reduced symptoms of depression and anxiety. The shock of the cold water can also lead to an immediate increase in adrenaline, which may help also with anxiety. It also enhances our stress resilience, what we talk about here all the time, mental resiliency, right? Regular exposure to cold water can train the body to handle stress better. This process, known as hormesis, involves exposing the body to short-term stressors to build long-term resilience. Over time, cold plunging can help individuals become more adaptable and better equipped to handle everyday stresses. It improves mental clarity and focus. The intense sensation of cold water can increase alertness and concentration. This is partly due to the increase in norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that enhances focus, attention. Cold plunging can act as a mental reset, providing a boost in clarity and cognitive function. I have so many stories and examples of cold plunging that has helped me in my life tremendously. And I'm going to share one story in particular. In my journey of post-traumatic growth, I was at my lowest point. I was taking a benzodiazepine, like a Valium or a Xanax or a Ativan, right? Those are very, very heavily sedated, controlled substances that I was prescribed from a doctor. And I was to the point where sometimes at my lowest, I would have to take this several times a week. The problem with this is, it's very habit forming. It's the number one most habit forming drug in pharmaceuticals today. It's very dangerous. And for me, it was never habit forming, but it was because I hated how I felt afterwards. I was groggy for 36 hours, and then I would get in the habit of not being able to function. And so I'd have to call out sick from work, and it was just a disaster. But I would have these, I would call them PTSD attacks, because to me, they're different than panic and anxiety attacks. They're very different in from my experience, but I would have to take one. So through my post-traumatic growth journey, I got better and better and better. And I got down to the point where I would take it maybe once a month, every other month. And to fast forward to today, about 9 months ago, I was taking it maybe just a couple times a year. The problem with this is now I'm in a field where I have to give people my best every single day. My cognitive has to be at its best. And so if I get to a point where I have to take one of these controlled prescribed substances, I would have to call out sick the next day because I wasn't going to be my best for my clients. Okay. So I had a PTSD attack and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take one. Let me prepare an email and let my clients know. And then I said, hold on. I've been cold plunging in the mornings routinely. This was not a routine one, but I said, I'm going to try cold plunging first. Mind you, I sat in the cold plunge for 6 minutes at about 48 degrees. And when I got out, I was not a little better. I was 100% better. It completely reset my nervous system and I was 100% better. I did not have to take that controlled sedative and I could go to work the next day. And so that was the moment about 7 months ago that I was like, I'm in. I got the buy-in. I'm done fighting with this stupid cold plunge because I hate being cold. But my cold tolerance has gone up. My mental resiliency has gone up. All the benefits. I'm getting all the benefits of cold plunging. And so when I talk to people who are miserable in their mental health, and I prescribe this, I prescribe this to my clients, and now I can't do it. And my heart hurts because it is such a benefit.
And your
you.
And your anterior cingulate cortex has grown.
Yeah.
Because you've done those hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I started doing the cold plunge a couple years ago before it got super popular. I was a trendsetter, I like to say.
Sure. Well, I did them 25 years ago when I played rugby. Okay.
But I did it because I needed help with mental health, and I started reading up on it, and I was like, I'm going to try this. This is fantastic. And then I tell all my friends, and I've got a bunch of my friends now doing the cold plunge because it works. It helps. It's incredible. But like we said, whether you accomplish your goal or not, just trying to do the hard things, that is what grows that area of the brain, which allows you to do the next hard thing and the next hard thing and the next hard thing. I'm one of the coaches for The Blocks. It's a reality competition TV show for entrepreneurs, which being an entrepreneur is super hard, right, Jess? Like, you're an entrepreneur. It is very difficult. She doesn't like to admit it. It's very difficult. But you're doing hard things. So last week I was with the Cherokee and Choctaw. This week I'm going to be flying out to work with The Blocks and coaching and judging the show, because I've won 2 seasons and now I'm a coach and judge. Each one of those things was hard. Going the first time was hard. Going the second time was even harder because now I've won and now everybody's chasing after me. People know who I am. They're gunning for me now. And I won the second time. Then I get to be a coach and judge for the show. Well, that's even harder because now it's a whole nother level. Now everybody's looking at me to give good advice, and I can't be wrong, and I can't say the wrong things or teach them the wrong things. So all of those things were hard to do. You have to find that in your life. What are the things that you can do right now today to challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone so you can grow? There were 2,500 people who applied to be on this season. There are going to be 100 of them that show up to learn how to be better at their business and compete in this reality TV show. Whether they win or they lose, they are all going to be better for the experience because that part of the brain is going to grow. And it's going to grow massively because every day for 5 days, all day long, they're going to be challenged to do hard things. So what in your life are you doing right now to challenge yourself to grow your anterior cingulate cortex? Let us know in the comments.
And as always, like and subscribe, you guys. I know we yelled at you a little bit today. That's okay.
That's some hard things.
You had to listen to us yell. Yes, good. Good for you.
We always try to educate, encourage, and empower you on your mental health journey. So for the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
And I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.